Ramona, you covered Kobe for so long. What stuck out to you in that memorial?
You know what? I thought I knew him pretty well. And I heard so many new things today. So many new things. Like, I can't tell you how hard I pushed Kobe to tell me about his relationship with Michael Jordan. I mean, I would always ask him, like, what did Michael say? And he held that back. Like, that was between them. He would say, you know, we're close, we went to lunch, we went to coffee, but he didn't say what Michael said. And it kind of got me, because it was like, wow, like, this man had so much more to him that we didn't all get to see, even though we all saw so much of him.
And inspired Michael to speak the way he did today, and to openly cry the way he did was so striking. Tracy, when you sit there and talk about the greats of the game and how we go from Michael Jordan to Kobe, and of course we saw so many of today's players in the audience as well today, how do you think that those guys are going to carry forward with Kobe's legacy? Because remember, if you're 25 years old or younger in this country, you never saw Michael Jordan play in a Bulls uniform, right? It's all YouTube clips.
Yep. I think they understand the importance of carrying this game forward, moving it forward, and that's what Kobe wanted, to treat the game well, to go out and compete at the highest level. I think we got a taste of that at Sunday's All-Star game in that fourth quarter, where I've never really seen a competitive All-Star game like that.
No.
And I'm sure Kobe had a lot to do with that, his impact on his game, how he approached the game. That's why you've heard it before. I mean, these younger guys that are playing now, Kobe was their Michael Jordan.
Yes.
And just his approach, his mentality, everybody can relate to that. It's hard to get to that level what this man reached and how disciplined he was. And I think that's why a lot of us really resonate with Kobe Bryant.
What do young players ask you about Kobe, Brian?
About his work ethic. You know, for the most part, I got to connect with Paul George my 2 years in Indiana, and he was just in his second season, and he was, you know, cutting corners, and I knew he grew up in the LA area, and that he was, you know, he idolized Kobe, and so I would always just kind of interject, you know, number 24 wouldn't be cutting corners. He'd be doing this, he'd be doing that. And it got his attention. And then he just started asking tons of questions about his work ethic, his footwork, and what have you. And so I was able to use that as motivation, and he used it himself for motivation to, you know, to become more serious and become a consummate pro when it came to the game. And so I think that that's the biggest thing that, you know, you take from that. And then you look at, somebody today made a comment about when he would go to his daughter's games and practices and what have you, he was like a shy kid when she was playing. He sat back. It wasn't about him. It was about her. He let her have her moment and let the team have their moment. And you know, and I think that that's priceless as well. You know, you take from this his relentlessness and his discipline to his craft. He carried that over into after basketball and the things that he did, and then we get to see it as an example. And let's face it, he got to be around Chick Hearn, you know, arguably one of the best announcers, Jerry West, Phil Jackson, and then the multitude of players that he played with and competed against, like Michael Jordan, that he got exposure to all these things from a very young man. And then having a father who played in the NBA as well, and exposed him to culture and life outside of the U.S., you know, in Italy. And so he had all of these things that he was, you know, kind of bubbling inside of him that we're now seeing, you know, how the product and the result of it. And that's the nice thing. Like you said, you talked about things that you learned today that you didn't know before. So these, you know, and that was because he was exposed to all these different things.
You know, he grew up in Italy, and he used to tell me about that. Like, it's just different when you grew up going to the Sistine Chapel, right? Like when your field trip is to the Vatican, okay? Like, and I think that he had all of this worldliness to him, but it also, like, when he came back to the States, like, there was a period of time where he had a really hard time fitting in. And basketball became his refuge. Basketball became the area that he could dominate. And I remember something Sabrina Ionescu said, which is something I've been thinking about a lot lately with him and the legacy and the way he lived his life. She said, you know, you appreciate the grind, right? Like every day when you get up, like there's the parts that you love are the hard parts, right? The parts that you love are the ones where you don't want to be working out or doing that. It takes so much focus and intentionality and discipline to do something like that. And I mean, how many times have you been that passionate about something in your life, even for a month? This man did that every day. And not just with basketball, but then he had a whole nother set of passions after basketball, and he was going to continue living that way. And I'll never forget the day after he scored 60, his last game, okay? So I had been working on this story. I had this, it was ready to go. All I needed to do was write the ending. And then he just completely messed up the whole story. I'm like, I'm going to have to rewrite this story. Like, I can't believe you did that. And he was like laughing at me.
Sure.
We called each other the next day. And I go, so take me through, okay, what did you do after the game? He goes, well, we flew home. We landed, we ate some pizza, we watched some movies, everybody went to sleep. I think I maybe went to sleep around 3:30 in the morning. And I go, and then what? And he goes, I got up early, I went to church, I got a workout in, I went to the office. And I was like, wait,
no day
you
off.
could have slept in.
No day off.
Like, you just got done with 20 years. Like, if there's one day you could have slept in. But I think what it is that he was so intentional about the next phase of his life, and really in anything he did.
But see,
he had a plan for that.
That's where Gigi comes into play, because hadn't Gigi loved the game of basketball, had that passion, Kobe would have been in his office being creative, writing books.
That's right.
We never really would have seen this side of Kobe, and it's just Gigi brought that out.
She brought him back to basketball.
She brought
and he
him back
talked
to
about
basketball.
That. I remember talking
Yes.
about with him in the last couple years, because for a while we'd see him at Sparks games.
Yeah.
We wouldn't really see him at Laker games. We wouldn't see him at basketball games. And then all of a sudden he started popping up at these NBA games, and I'm like, Kobe came back to us, and he said, oh, Gigi wanted to go. So that was an amazing gift that she gave
Thank you,
us.
Gigi.
Which is
Yes.
pretty incredible.